Okay, so let's start shading. Let's start shading the side of the cylinder. So if the sun is on the upper right hand side, let's go to about the middle. I can kind of see a faint line where I drew the midpoint. And we're going to go to the left side of that, and we are going to put in our core shadow. Remember the core shadow? The core shadow is the darkest shading that's going to be on our form. So I'm using a 4B pencil, and I'm going to draw my core shadow, and the core shadow is going to be made up of curved lines. Okay, I'm using curved lines instead of straight lines because they also help to express the contour of this the surface of this cylinder, that it's round. It's a rounded object. To the left side of that, we're going to use a little bit lighter pressure and maybe even leave a little bit more of the white of the paper showing. And we are going to put a little bit of a dark middle tone right here, dark middle tone. So I'm going to go back and make that a little bit darker. And doing this also allows us to hide the pencil line that forms the left edge of the cylinder. Okay. To the right of the core shadow, or the darkest shading on the cylinder, which looks like a dark stripe of shading, we are going to switch up pencils and go from a 4B to a 2B and try to create a lighter, slightly lighter middle tone here. And we can do that by switching to a harder graphite drawing pencil. And I'm going to do my best. I'm going to use the curved lines instead of straight lines, because that'll further express how curved the contour of the cylinder is. Then we're going to leave a white area that is our highlight. We're going to switch to an even harder pencil, the HB. I'm using the Pro Art, which is a very inexpensive, cheap brand of woodless pencil. And got this at AC Moore. So Pro Art is kind of like their student grade materials, but it is true. I can feel that it is true to what it's labeled. It is an HB. It is a little harder than a 2B and lighter. Using the HB pencil, I'm just going to use some diagonal lines. The diagonal lines are to express kind of how flat the top is. It's not a curvy surface. I could even put a little bit of cross hatching in the other direction. What I'm trying to do is hide this back line here. And as I come forward, the shading can get lighter and lighter and lighter, and might want to even lighten it back up after I blend it with a kneaded eraser. Remember, the kneaded eraser is this kind of moldable, gummy kind of squishy eraser, and this one comes with a little case so that it keeps it clean and keeps it from sticking all over your pencils. The shadow, we could just kind of scroll in all the different values right now. The shadows, I'm going to go with a 6B pencil, which is the darkest pencil, and I'm going to shade the umbra, which is the darkest part of the shadow, of the cast shadow. Okay, so I'm just gonna use kind of a horizontal line here to emphasize that this is a shadow that's flat as compared to the cylinder. It's a flat shadow sitting on a flat table. Okay, I'm just using the 6B pencil. I'm using less pressure, and at some point I might switch to the 4B pencil, the next darkest pencil. Okay, switch back to the 6B up here. Kind of blend that in with my 4B. Overall, the shadow should look darker than the form that's casting the shadow, okay? And we could shade the horizon line, do that. Let's use a 2B pencil. And if you do a gradation from dark to light gradation, it's going to further emphasize that this is some sort of a surface, it's a ground, it's land meeting sky, it's a tabletop, it could be whatever. But as the color changes, what it indicates that is distance. You're going farther and farther away. So I'm just using a 2B pencil, going right up to my form, and then just using less and less pressure, less and less pressure. Okay. So now we have the basic shading down. I'm going to use a piece of paper towel, and let's shade the background first, so that so we can make that nice and smooth and even back there. And if it does go into our form, once we start smoothing and shading our form, the background will like come right up to our form, so we don't have to worry about some sort of halo effect around our three-dimensional form, because we're going to just rub that right into. And not be fearful, just don't be afraid, just go right up into the side of the cylinder here. Don't go too far, but just so that there isn't a gap and a little white space going all the way around. The background doesn't have to be perfect. Let's shade the shadow last. So right now we're going to go in here and we're going to just smooth the core shadow. And then what we're going to do is just kind of turn to a clean side of the paper towel, so we don't rub all that dark 4B pencil into this area. We want to keep this medium light. I'm going to just rub that. We're going to even go up and down just within that value area, like that. Now we're going to go over here where it's like a light medium. That's the light medium area right over here. And kind of want to blend this area between this really nice soft white highlight area and the light medium area. And also now we can go and blend this area right here on the right. That's another kind of light medium area. You can make it slightly darker if you want, to kind of blend where these two values meet, and this right here. Also up top, why don't we turn to a little clean area on the paper towel and kind of blend this area smooth up here at the top of the cylinder. what I'm noticing is it's starting to kind of blend in with the shading on the horizon line. So what I'm going to do is go in with a 2B pencil and put a slightly darker shading over here, and then blend it in toward the center of this area here, just so that it's visible. That back edge, you want the back edge of that cylinder to be visible and separate it from your background. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of this kneaded eraser and shape it into like a little cone shape, a little finger, what have you, and just kind of lighten up that like front edge right here, and maybe bring some of that light value up into toward the middle a little bit too. Let's just kind of lighten it up a little bit more. So now the top of that can is just glowing. Okay. I feel like this kind of losing the strength here of our core shadow. So I'm going to go in with that really strong 6B pencil, and kind of in the middle of the old core shadow that we had drawn, I'm going to put a little stripe of this darker 6B pencil. And having a really high number B pencil really does make a difference, because if you have a HB pencil and that's all you have, there is a limit to how dark you can get your core shadow. You just will never be able to get it as dark as using a higher number B pencil, unfortunately. So sometimes you have to get those supplies, the correct tools.